republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by Seventh-day Advent.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we're very thankful, especially today and days like today, for our town, for the city of Mitchell. We ask your continued blessing on its people and on the leaders in this community. I pray that you would give wisdom to this council and that you would bless the efforts here today. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Sabers.
Here.
Rice.
Here.
Dosher. McCardle.
Here.
Barrington. Allen.
Here.
Chark. Here. Smith.
Here. Okay, we have a quorum. I have been asked to add one item to the agenda, so after 15, we will add a brief discussion on fees relative to renting parking lots for events here in Mitchell. Okay, approval of consent agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a council member for discussion at the beginning of formal agenda items. Is there anything you wish to remove? Okay. Discussion? Comments?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Smith,
Second.
second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address any of these items? Roll call.
Dosher. McCardle. Barrington. Allen. Chark. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers. Rice.
Aye.
Motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium, state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken. If anybody wishes to address, come on up. State your name, please.
I'm Philip Becker, and I'm here representing our Fiala's Addition neighborhood group located in the residential lake-zoned area on the north side of Lake Mitchell. As you know, our neighborhood group has been involved in opposing the proposed application of the Flack family for a variance and conditional use permit to build a large metal shed on Flack's lot in the Barrington Court area. This was recently presented by Marty Barrington at the Planning and Zoning Board meeting as the Barrington Family Shed Project. This was unanimously denied by the Zoning Board and tabled at your last meeting. Since that time, there have been new developments to include our group hearing that the Flacks would possibly propose building a shouse or a shome to get around the Zoning Board and zoning regulations, which would then allow a standalone shed on a residential lot. A shouse is a relatively new and creative term that denotes a shed plus a house, or basically a shed that has a living space in it, or a lot of times we hear it called a man cave these days. In addition, we're now aware of the potential plans for the Flacks and Weidgarteners that own property in Barrington Court to replat the area and petition to abandon the street. There was a survey done there last Friday of the area. We are here tonight to ask the mayor and the city council opinion with respect to the use of a shome project to potentially circumvent the zoning regulations. Most people that we have talked to in Mitchell had no idea even what a shouse or a shome is. They also assumed that there was already code preventing such structures on residential lots, but there really isn't. We feel that using this loophole to get around the code is wrong and opens the door for future problems related to this style of shed building in a residential neighborhood. These sheds are usually limited to industrial or rural properties. We strongly feel that the city should immediately consider developing updated regulations for shouses or shomes, much like other communities have done. Should these large sheds be restricted from residential zoning areas? If in a residential area, should they be of a certain size, appearance, build quality? We will be submitting a letter from our community group in the next few days updating our position against the Flacks Barrington Family Shed Project, and now likely Shouse Shome Project. Thank you for consideration on this important zoning topic.
Thank you.
Dale Odegaard, I was here maybe 3 weeks ago or whatever it was in regards to a little bit of this. And I kind of touched base on a few things, but I guess, and my feeling is, when I developed the property at Joe Jean Court, and we have 6 lots remaining, we have sold 4 of the lots, 3 homes are on those lots. And when I developed it, it was zoned residential housing, and it is residential housing. There isn't a shed, there isn't a shower, there is nothing like that. And everybody in that area has a home that probably is $400,000 to $600,000, $700,000. They do not want this to happen. I do not want this to happen. And I firmly believe years ago, this north of me, there was a developer that wanted to bring in a mobile home court. And the city said, no, we are not going that direction. Well, I think if we don't stop the direction that the Barringtons and the Placks want to go, we're going backwards in time. And I really firmly believe that when we say residential lake and we are paying the highest taxes rated on that property in the city, that it should stay residential lake, and through some trick or some way of getting around it to get it accomplished without doing that is extremely wrong. And I don't think any one of you, if I would have sold you a lot and you would have built in my property, that you would have been real happy with what we're seeing going on right now. Any questions? Thank you very much for your time, and I appreciate everything, and you'll probably be seeing more of us. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bernard, state your name, please.
My name's Mark Bernard, and I'm a good friend of Hank, and he called me. He was courteous enough to call me about his project, and at the time, I didn't know all that much about it, and we spoke on the phone. He called me on my phone, and I asked Hank if he would like to look at my building. I have a real nice Balin building built by Butch Shawd, a steel building behind my home, right there on 145 North Harmon Drive. And right across the street is on Fiala Road will be where Hank will have his building. And we spoke about his building, and he said, no, I don't need to see your building, your shed. He said, I kind of have an idea what I want to do, and his words to me were, I want to build it as cheap as possible. That's what he said to me. And then at that point, I thought, whoa, wait, and so, but I just, I'm friends with Hank. He made my signs when I ran for city council, and so I don't want any animosity. We're not trying to be, have a big fight over this. I'm sorry, but it's really turning into it's quite an ordeal. And I totally understand Dale Odegaard's situation with what he did, and now with the Chad and Robin Chahoy is going to build a brand new home there across the street from me, to the north of me, and I'm sure it'll be a beautiful home. And I have a beautiful hedge. I won't be able to see this thing unless I go out onto the street. But I would hate to be Chad and Robin and step out of their front door, and that's what they're going to see to the southeast. So that's all I have. I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address council? Okay, council got any comments? Okay, hearing. On the application to transfer retail on-off sale malt beverage license RB 26966 from Bathke Properties, 2412 Dean Drive, Mitchell, South Dakota, to Bathke Properties, 1101 East Havens, Mitchell, South Dakota. License is inactive. Any issues at all, Mr. Still?
Glenn Still, Public Safety Chief. No, we have no concerns with this.
Move to approve.
Second. Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. Barrington. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. On an application to transfer retail on-off sale malt beverage license RB 26967, Bathke Properties, 2412 Dean Drive, Mitchell, South Dakota, to Bathke Properties, 1101 East Havens Avenue, Mitchell, South Dakota. License is inactive.
Public safety has no concerns with this either.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. On an application to transfer retail on-off sale wine cider license, RW 26246, from VV Inc., doing business as Suds, 508 East Havens, South Dakota, Mitchell, South Dakota, to BV Inc., doing business as The Hideout, 510 East Havens Street, Suite 2, Mitchell, South Dakota, due to configuration of the wine license. Any issues?
No concerns.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. McCardle, second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. On application to transfer retail on-sale liquor license RL 5765 from VV Inc., doing business as The Hideout, 508 East Haven Suite 2, Mitchell, South Dakota, to VV Inc., doing business as Suds, 508 and 510 East Haven Street, Mitchell, South Dakota, due to configuration of liquor license. Any issues?
No concerns, Mayor.
Move to approve.
Who made that? Mr. Barrington? Thank you. Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve applications for renewal malt beverage licenses. Any issues?
No issues, Mayor.
Move to approve.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Allen, second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried.
We had the individual with Purr and Puff Rescue here who just had to clarify something on her application, which was item number G on the consent agenda. Can she come in and speak to council for?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, there she is, okay. They went
Sorry,
really
we went a
fast.
little, we
okay.
zipped right by you.
Oh, it's okay. My name's Gail, and I'm the president and founder of Purr and Rough Rescue. I hear that you guys approved our request for our September 12th street closure, but I wanted to confirm, I need confirmation, that we are going to have from First and Main to Second and Main closed off.
Whatever you requested is what you're going to get.
And then
Yep, right
and then
there.
the parking lot straight east of, yes,
Yep.
of Jade's Bar,
Yep. That's
okay?
what you get.
And then the two, it would be between Jade's Bar and the old pawn shop,
Yep.
okay? Now, I know in my application, I did not request, closure, whatever, so they're barricades. We are, what's wanting to do is 301 rods would be parking cars at the end of the streets. Is that acceptable, or do we need to have barricades?
Go ahead and speak to that, Mr. Croce.
Kyle Croce with Public Works. We can provide the barricades as
Okay.
needed on
All right.
on that, and any cones.
You will?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, just coordinate with me.
okay. And also, there is not going to be any alcohol beverage allowed, just to let you know. How do I go about letting the police officers, or do we need to have an officer patrolling? I read in there somewhere that,
I don't think you do.
No liquor.
this is my first time ever having to fill out a vendor event permit, so. I just want to make sure I do everything by the book so we don't get in trouble.
I think, Justin, with no alcohol being obviously consumed, I would assume that, I know when there's obviously alcohol being consumed, I think we have police officers or some security involved, but a situation like this, I think that's not required, I believe.
I don't think there's anything specifically required, no.
Okay.
And I do know if we're working on either a bouncy house or a dunk tank, and if we're able to do that, that requires insurance. That requires another additional $500. What if somebody has the dunk tank or the bouncy house and they have insurance already? Do we still have to pay the $500?
Are you saying like a rental?
Yes.
I think you just have to show proof of insurance on.
Okay, because I would ask the person who's going to set up for their insurance, a copy of their insurance.
Does that work for you?
Typically, we would ask to be named, for the city to be named as an additional insured on those.
You actually are on my insurance already.
Right,
Yeah, but not for the bouncy house or whatever you have,
Okay.
so we'd have to be named on that as a,
Right, so I'm saying if somebody offers the bouncy house or offers...
just make
to-
sure we're covered under their policy.
Okay,
And show us that we're covered.
okay.
Isn't that what we're saying here, Justin?
Yeah.
Now, I want
Yeah.
to make clear, because I've heard three different things, between Jade's Bar and where the old pawn shop is that city property, or is part of it still,
It is.
Part
still,
of it is.
Part of it is city.
Only the
Okay.
red
Part
part
of it,
there.
right.
Only the part in the red box is city.
Where the old pawn shop was is private property, so don't
This right
go
here
on
is
their
private.
property.
okay, so more or less just the dirt part, as it sits right now, is their property.
No, I think this part's paved, isn't it, on this side?
On the other side, there's parking lot lines. There's about from here to here of dirt.
That should be on their property
That's
there.
on their
You're
property.
talking on the north side?
Of them,
And plus-
I would be talking on pawn shops to the south.
If you go from the wall of Jade's, or what was the old Legion, to
Right.
where the wall of the pawn shop was, and follow that straight west, everything between those two is city. Anything north of that is private property.
Okay, and I did talk to them already too, and I had to sign a release, to release them of anything. I just wanted to make sure,
Okay,
confirm everything.
all right,
Thank you
good.
guys for
Good luck.
accepting, approving. You guys have a good night.
Okay, back to item 10. Action to request for street parking closure in front of the back 40 for bike night events to be held. Kiki, did you want to talk to that?
So, I didn't really have anything to say, other than they asked me to come. We'll be doing that every third Thursday, I believe that's in the application.
This is just for bike parking, right? You're not closing the street?
Yeah, just bike parking on my side of the street, the whole block. I've talked to the other business owners, pretty much, everyone's closed at 5, so we're not asking for it until 5 p.m. And Sherwin-Williams was really the only one in question, and they have access to the alley, should they have a truck, so they said that was fine.
Okay.
So I just wanted to reiterate that I've kind of gone down the road, and it'd just be for, I believe I put the dates in there for you. And that's it for this summer, and then next summer, I'll reapply.
Okay.
And if we could use the cones, which we've been working on, and then I just bring them back, it works great, so.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mrs. Jarvis. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve resolution R 2020-34, a plat of Lot 3-A of North Maui's First Edition, a subdivision of Lot 1 of the west half of the northwest quarter, also described as Lot 1, subdivision of Government Lot 1, all of Section 31, Township 104 North, Range 60 West, 5th Prime Meridian, Davidson County, South Dakota. Mr. Putnam.
Mayor and council members, you probably noticed in the planning commission minutes that were submitted to you that the planning commission did recommend approval of this plat. As you can see, basically it's the owner that's right next door to this property is acquiring it just for the purpose of having the extra property. This is within our 1 mile jurisdiction, so that's why it's subject to our review. And my understanding is the county is hearing it tomorrow.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mrs.
Second.
Church, second by Mr. Allen. Further discussion? Is there anybody in the audience wishes to address this?
Okay.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve resolution R 2020-35, a plat of lot N, a subdivision of previously platted lot S of Maui Farms, second edition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, this plat was presented to the planning commission at their last regular meeting, and you can kind of see it kind of follows the pattern of those lots out on that Sam Street, right off of Maui Drive, so.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rice, second by Mr. Sabers. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address it? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action to approve resolution R 2020-36, plat of lot 10, block 7, Westwood, first edition, a subdivision of the southwest quarter of section 16, township 103 North, range 60 West of 5th Prime Meridian, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Again, the planning commission did review this plat at its last regular meeting and did recommend approval. The area was this there. This is just north on Ullman Street, you kind of did see that there's a drainage easement that is indicated on that plat, and that would be towards the east side of that property.
That's actually part of the pond for retaining.
Right.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Allen,
Second.
second by Mr. McCardle. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Action on resolution R 2020-37, quit claim deed for property at 503 South Burr. Mr. Johnson.
All right, so this is an issue that recently came to our attention. The area that we're dealing with is a small part of a lot to the area south of the skate park on Burr. In review of the title chain on it, there was a point back in, I think it was the 80s, where the property was deeded to the city and then later also deeded to another third party. So it appears that the city has the record ownership right now, but there is a cloud on the title. So we're able to clear that up. Really, the city has no use for that area except for the small portion that the bike path is over. By transferring it to Development Corp, they will then grant us an easement in that for the bike path, and then they can make sure that the rest of the lot gets back in use. Just for everybody's information, the assumed ownership has been with the Longs for, I think, the last 35 years or so. I can't remember the exact details, but they've also been paying taxes on it that whole time, so.
Want to thank him on that.
Yeah, thank you.
Here for a check or approval?
Check's in the mail.
I think your chances of approval are far better. Any questions? Okay. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Church. Second by Mr. Rice. Further discussion? Anybody in the audience wish to address this? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. First reading on ordinance O 2020-09, fireworks on the 5th of July. Mr. Barrington, you want to speak to this?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and open up on it. For those of you that have been involved in the city council for quite some time, I think we all recall going to sort of a reference back a few years ago, how we permitted fireworks being permitted out in the lake area A couple of years ago, we permitted it being allowed in the city limits ground fireworks only. And with those being put together, it always was on the 3rd and the 4th that you could basically light them or be permitted from noon to midnight, as you see on the ordinance up there on the board there. But from noon to midnight on the 3rd and the 4th. At that time, when we were discussing that, part of the process was, it was actually brought up back then too, was, do we include the 5th? And we thought sort of, which has always been sort of taking steps over the last few years, baby step kind of approach, let's ease into it, make sure this is going in the right direction, make sure it's working for the community, make sure it's working for the safety of our people, make sure it's working for the police safety themselves of what's going on. I think over the past couple of years, I think that's was exactly what we have seen, that it has been a positive thing for the city. Definitely know it's cut down on calls for the police department on how they ran around and chased things, and they can't really do much about the ordinance when it was in place, because you got to see people light it to enforce it kind of attitude. So, so it was really a sort of a cleanup, I guess, kind of thing for everybody involved. But the biggest thing is that ideally, I believe it's been a success over the years. I'm just proposing back the 5th is because it was talked about once again 3 years ago at the time when we did this. Obviously, we all know coming up this year, the way the calendar landed with leap year, the 5th is a Sunday coming up, putting things together. And it was discussed a little bit with myself and Justin and the mayor a little bit about, is it just when the 5th lands on a weekend and all that kind of stuff, and just sort of came down to the point of, being basically all the time, every year to year, instead of trying to worry about, okay, so this year we can legally do it, but this year I can't because it's on a Saturday or it's on a Tuesday or whatever else. So to make it clear, the point of the ordinance, the proposal that I'm doing is it's legal to light them off the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, from basically noon to midnight those 3 days. One other kind of part of it that I'd like to add, I think it's a good thing for the city of Mitchell. I really do. We've always talked about trying to make the city of Mitchell a place of destination, and this is what people like to do. They like to patronize Independence Day. We hope they always choose the city of Mitchell to come to by adding an extra day of firework and following the safeties that are provided in them. I think it might be a place where they might choose to say, let's stay another day. Let's make sure we go to Mitchell because we're able to light off city of fireworks out there, unlike other communities that don't allow it. I think it's just like I said, it's a good thing going on. We all know too with lighting of fireworks, we don't know what day it's going to rain. You don't know it until you wake up and look outside. What if we had a rainy 4th of July? Fireworks can't go off, and maybe this gives them the day to get rid of their fireworks and still light them off and hopefully do it in the right way, in a safety way, and things like that too. But I have been visiting with a little bit of the fireworks stands, as you all know in the past years. I've always asked for a little support from them for cleanup around the lake area and the parks. I visit with Jeff Myrink at Myrink. He is willing to put a donation together again this year. I just got off the phone with Jennifer at All Star Fireworks, Keep Artist All Star Fireworks. She's willing to do her donation as she's done in the past. I have visited with Mr. Miedema in light of the bumpy ride we all started off this year with Miedema Sanitation. He is very gracious. He's a loyal citizen of Mitchell. He appreciates everything he's done. His family loves Mitchell, and they're also going to supply what they've done in the past. I believe 7 dumpsters around the city of Mitchell or out by the lake for cleanup and for hopefully people to use them properly and dispose of their fireworks when they're being used. And they said they would drop those off like on the 3rd and pick them up on the 6th or something like that. So getting support from the ones that, sort of directly, I said, get some positive feedback from it. But I guess once again, this whole point of it, I think it's something we discussed a long time ago, and I think it's a good thing for us to keep on expanding on an ordinance that has been successful, and I hope folks will approve it also and be supportive. So.
Okay. With that, Mr. Johnson, you want to say anything about the ordinance?
I don't have much to say. I guess the only other thing to keep in mind is for this to go into effect in time for this year's 4th of July or 5th of July, however you want to look at it. It's going to require a special meeting, and I believe that there is one scheduled for next Monday, if I'm recalling my docket.
There is. We also will canvass the votes next Monday. So. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns?
Move to approve.
Motion by Mrs. Chark, second by Mr. Savers. Further discussion? All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Okay, the additional item, and Stephanie, you might have to help me with this, but when we have a rental agreement or a agreement for the closure of the parking lots in town, the ones with power, we do have a fee that gets charged for that. And you want to discuss that fee, correct?
So this Friday is First Friday that's sponsored by Mitchell Main Street and Beyond. And in light of our social distancing, they've put together an opportunity for food trucks, as well as I'm sure they've invited restaurants on Main Street to participate. And they're going to have music, and you can stop by to support the Heart and Soul Cancer Walk, and it will be the Cruising for a Cause. And so they're asking that we waive the $100 electricity fee that we have in place normally for things like food trucks. And so they'll have a few food trucks. They're using them at the TMA parking lot, 5th and Main, and down by the depot. But I don't know if it's just the 5th and Main that is the concern. I'm not sure. Okay. So anyway, they've invited some food trucks. These are new food trucks for people who have previously participated in the First Fridays. And so I'm just asking for your support for Mitchell Main Street that we might waive that $100 fee for this event.
Can we take an action on this, Mr. Johnson?
I guess I would say that at this point, it's not been listed on the agenda at the time of publication. I don't think it'd be appropriate to take action on it tonight.
Can we were thinking maybe we could just give direction to staff to take care of that, to waive that fee.
Okay.
So let me ask this, is there actual cost that's associated
There is.
with?
There's the power, which is not a huge fee amount, although it depends on how many trucks they hook up to it.
It would be one.
Mr. Buchelman was saying, oh, it's less than 50 cents, but no, it's not. You know, you're paying 10 cents a kilowatt hour at least for the power, so, and the truck will use more than, how many hours are they going to be there? 3. More than 3 hours?
3.
So he's going to use more than 1 kilowatt an hour. So, but there is also fees associated with somebody coming there and making sure they got the hookups and this and that, so.
When we redid that parking lot, it cost us money to run
Right.
that electrical service and make it, and put it there, and we won't recoup any of that cost unless we charge people that use it. We had talked about it at that time that for Corn Palace Week, when we started moving things around in food trucks, we made power available out of this building, we made power available there. We spent money to put in infrastructure for electrical systems. And that was the thinking as to why we would charge people. The idea was that they'd be food trucks that are parked there for 4 days for Corn Palace Week, those types of things. But, I mean, I can understand in this time, and we're not closing down Main Street, and we're wanting people to drive up and down and have other things to have a temporary food truck using our electricity probably isn't that.
And I
great a
think that the
concern.
thing that we need to keep in mind is that, you know, these food trucks are coming in for a 3-hour event. And they have to pay, if they're a member of Mitchell Main Street, they pay $50. If they're not a member, they pay $75. But then to pay an additional $100, it's just not going to be worth what they might be able to make in 3 hours. So I think that this would just be a nice thing for us to do to encourage participation.
We're not charging the food trucks that,
No,
we're charging
we're not
Mitchell
No,
Main Street.
Mitchell Main Street, this is an opportunity for,
But
They're
we don't charge
charging
for
their food
trucks.
trucks. I think
no.
Main Street is charging.
Mitchell Main Street is for this event.
Oh, I see, okay, I got
They
you.
will pay-
I thought they thought we were charging each
No.
truck $100.
No, Mitchell Main Street, in order to participate as a
Okay.
food truck, they will pay a fee. Yeah.
How long have we been doing this? I didn't know they did that.
Well, you got to keep
This-
in mind also that electrical panel has to be locked, because at one time it was not locked, and we had a motor home parked there for 3 days straight, or maybe a whole weekend plugged into it. So You know, that's also staff time. We have to pay 2 hours of call-in sometimes for someone to go and make sure that everything's been closed up afterwards. So it is more than just the electricity use. So I don't think the $100 fee typically is out of line for normal events.
And we're not asking to change this regularly, it's just that this is a singular event that would be nice if we could support Mitchell Main Street this way.
How's it go, like during Corn Palace Week, everybody that plugs in, do they all pay $100 in, or is it?
No, because the Corn Palace pays all the electricity during that week.
Ultimately, that comes off their bills, though. So they're paying for it.
So this is just a one-time deal?
Is it one time, or you want it every Friday, first Friday?
Well, at this point, I'm not sure what the plans are for July, the first one in July and the first one in August, so I can't speak to that. At this point, we're taking it a month at a time. So
Okay.
we'll come back, I guess, in a month if they need it again, hopefully before the event.
There's what? No action, but direction, I guess. Do you want to waive the $100 fee, or? Anybody have an issue with waiving the $100 fee? Don't make a motion. We don't need a motion, just if you're opposed to it, let me know outside.
Maybe a comment could be given to Mitchell Main Street and beyond that if they're going to continue to do food trucks, they should increase their charge that they're charging to food trucks so that we can still recoup the $100 fee for our cost of providing the electricity instead of the city just providing it, because they'll have more notice before the next one.
That'd be fair. You'll have to bring that to the board.
Okay, so we'll waive it. Okay? Okay, no other business, we're adjourned.